So, let's talk about The Magician's Elephant. Now, I know that you guys are thinking that this is another bland Netflix film into your minds when you first heard about this. But there is a lot more to this film. Since it was, since this film was also stuck in production hell for years now. Yeah, and actually got the chance to be created and be released by your boy Netflix, who was also known for making the production hell film that's been out for like a decade now and almost two. It's Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, an Oscar-winning film. So now that we'll look, but this time, will The Magician's Elephant be another production in hell type of film that's actually good like Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio? So when you hear about the plot, it's a bit basic. It's about this boy named Peter who set off to do three impossible tasks set by the king in order to get the elephant who was mostly summoned by a magician that would actually guide him to know where his sister is, or if she is alive, to be fair with you. And to be fair, I do see some potential on how this film could work. It does have the ideas of with the magic and how it would work in the film, and even the message of the impossible being possible. Or as long as you believe and try to imagine that you can believe that the magic is right in front of you when you can do the impossible. But I wouldn't say the same for the execution of the film, since as always the film doesn't really take the story too well for now. Sure, it is interesting, but it does show. But when it shows up the truth, the interest in this film falls apart. And how you realize that this film is trying way too hard to be feeling a bit modern, and I don't mean by that how references and all that. It's mostly by how it tries to play a little way too smart that actually kind of ruins the experience, especially with the narrator acting like she's the smart ass of the group and out of all people. And I would say that the comedy is not that funny and it's quite weak at times. Like it's trying way too hard to put a joke at that. I think that if you would actually get a laugh. And that really does suck too, because the film has potential and even it's about magic. The plot with Peter trying to find his sister and wondering about the magic that happened in the world feels like they couldn't even mix together right, and just feels like an old filler. Sure, I think the plot might have done better in the books, even if I haven't read it, but I wouldn't really say so for the movie. As for the film, in order to make the film work, you need some like strong characters in order to do the job for you. Well, that's too bad, cause the characters in here are not really that memorable. They're not bad, but they're not really great characters either. I'll start with the boy Peter, who is the kid that's just trying to get the elephant in order to find his sister, while also having dialogue that sounds very corny. Vilna, his so-called father that adopted him, that's trained him to be like a military person, and forget about like fairy tale. Leo, the person who's trying to help Peter accomplish his mission. The fortune teller, the narrator movie. The magician who provides magic but not really good at it. The countess who's not really able to laugh. The king being the so-called guy who laughs at, who's into stuff that's not really funny but it's actually gets a laugh of it. And of course Peter's sister, who's still alive and also with a character called Mary, and still wonders about how the elephant works in order to guide his brother. And that's all you need to know about them. But I guess I'll give that the actors at least tried. They did sound like they want to put in their performance, and there were some ones that did stand out a little bit, like for the actors for Vilna and the King. However, they do come off with some setbacks. One is that some characters have a bit different accents and don't feel like they belong in the same film, which sure it's fairy tale but doesn't really do much and can work out with it. And second of all, it got the pandemic issue where it's there are some times where you can hear like on how they would sound like they recorded off like an iPhone. A bit similar to Die Wimpy Kid, of course, the 2021 version, okay? And I wouldn't hesitate to say that these characters are unlikable or anything like that. It's just that they don't show off much to them that files and that shows up in the one-note personalities, and that's it. There's not really too much special, but they just exist. And besides the story and the characters, the best thing I can say about the film is easily the animation. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece or something you would see out Pixar quality or even DreamWorks as of today's standards, but I can definitely tell that there was some effort put into it. And if you're curious on who made the animation, the visuals were in the hands of Animal Logic, the same studio that also did other films like Happy Feet, the Lego Movie, and the other recent anime film, DC League of Super Pets. And as those films have some pretty solid animation to those, the same can be said about The Magician's Elephant. But the biggest standout is probably in the backgrounds, which is mostly done in the towns, where it shows off a lot of details on how the magic was nice and everything looked very abstract and colorful. Well, while the magic disappeared, everything was shadowed and that gives it that off look. Well, not uncanny look, but just to represent on how the world works. But when Pius starts his adventure, that's when the light starts coming back a little bit. You know where it actually is going to show up. And I can also, it does have some good visuals in the backgrounds, but I wouldn't really necessarily say for the characters. To be fair, my biggest criticism with the animation is with the characters and on how they look and how they move. I'm going to start with how they look here, is that they have a bit of an off look to them. The film tries its best to make them look both realism and a bit stylized, a bit similar to like the Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. However, they don't really mix well, and when they do mix, they have a bit of, they still again gives off that off look that doesn't feel like they would suit for like a film like this. And the way the characters move is decent, for the most part. They do have some really realistic movements, and it looks nice, especially with the elephants and how they look. And as again, the elephants do look nice, and actually still looks like the type of elements you see in real life, and they still move quite well. However, it's quite noticeable in the action scenes where some of the movements can feel a bit clunky whenever the camera is trying to purposely shake the camera in order to get into that type of situation, and it kind of ruins the experience of the action scenes. However, I'll say that the animation is probably the only best thing about this film that's considered passable, besides some other elements in the film. I'll give this isn't the worst worst Netflix film I've ever seen, but it doesn't really show off too much in order to get into that true magic as the film tells us. The Magician's Elephant, it could have been a great film that actually had some potential of showing off its measure that the impossible can be possible, some nice touching heart, and okay acting and that nicely built animation. However, it has a bit of a basic and planned plot of the story, a pretty flat characters. There's weird looking designs on the characters. The comedy is not really funny, and worst of all, the smart tone actually kind of almost ruins the entire feature into its experience. I won't say this is a film for everyone, but if you're into elephants or just like magic and stuff, then this could be harmless for you. But for me, I will honestly give this a 0 out of average. It tried, but at least it didn't came out as disastrous as Paws of Fury, even if I don't really hate that film. Next time on Kyle's Reviews is...
That's what I'm talking about! That's what